This morning, we're sharing the remarkable story of a brave young boy whose diagnosis for a mysterious condition is expected to help solve future medical puzzles. Researchers recently discovered a genetic disorder that causes 4-year-old Luke Terrio to produce no antibodies. It led to an immune system so weak that he was constantly sick. Senior medical correspondent Dr. Tara Narula spoke with Luke's family about their years-long search for answers. Tara, good morning.
Good morning, Vlad. This is a condition that had never been seen before in any medical literature. It was truly a medical mystery. Luke was experiencing infection after infection, and no treatment was working. That's when doctors at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia stepped in with a diagnosis that helped change the course of his life. Today, 4.5-year-old Luke Terrio looks like a normal, healthy boy.
Oh, there he is. There's my handsome guy.
But just a few years ago, Luke was sick almost every day, and his health was deteriorating.
Around 7, 8 months old, he was just tired. He looked different. His eyes were watery and kind of red underneath. He had a really runny nose. He started to get some red spots on his face. Something was different, and I couldn't really explain it.
For months, he was in and out of the hospital with no diagnosis, until a test revealed he had no antibodies and was unable to build a healthy immune system.
If you don't have antibodies, it usually means that you don't have the cells called B cells that are the factories for antibodies. And as a result, you get infections, lots of infections.
So are these 293s?
Yeah.
At the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, Dr. Neil Romberg and his team of immunologists ran every test possible without finding the cause of Luke's sickness.
I see the difference here.
Eventually, they mapped his entire genetic sequence and discovered he had a mutation so rare it had no name and had only been seen in mice.
He had a mutation in a gene called SPY1 that he did not inherit from his mother and that he did not inherit from his father. This is what we call a de novo mutation. Those are extremely suspicious.
So this de novo or new mutation, as far as you knew, had never been seen anywhere before.
It was novel, had never been seen before.
You ready?
SPY1 explained why Luke couldn't make B cells, but it came with another issue.
There was a concern that Luke was going to be predisposed to cancer. A lot of human leukemias have SPI1 mutations in them. And SPI1 is considered, therefore, a cancer predisposition gene by many.
Without a playbook, Dr. Romberg offered the family two options. Luke could continue to receive antibody replacement therapy and live with the predisposition to cancer, or undergo a risky bone marrow transplant to reduce the chance of cancer and possibly jumpstart his immunity. What did they tell you were the risks of a bone marrow transplant to Luke?
That was a hard conversation. I think it was maybe 10% chance of organ failure.
10% mortality rate. So basically it was a 10-to-1 odds.
There were also complications that maybe would make the quality of his life worse.
We really wrestled with the decision. We were really back and forth, I remember.
In 2018, when Luke was just under 2 years old, they made the difficult decision to go ahead with the transplant. Jack, their older son, was his donor. Neither Mom Michelle or Dad Robert were a match. After the transplant and 7 weeks in the hospital, Luke's family says his condition improved. They also say it created a lifelong bond between the brothers, who now share identical DNA. Who's your best friend? Jack. Jack, who's your best friend? Lukey. But the hope that the transplant would help him produce his own antibodies, which usually occurs in the first year, has not yet worked.
1, 2, 3.
For the rest of his life, he may need bi-monthly antibody infusions. And after 3 years, Luke's disease finally has a name.
It is PU1 mutated gamma-globulinemia. I've had some practice saying that word in the past few years.
Hey guys!
While Luke's future is uncertain, his doctors believe he will be able to lead a full life. And he thanks his hero, Dr. Romberg.
Oh, you want to get in the back? For patients who have diseases who have not yet been discovered, I think this story is emblematic of how science can lead the way. We have the capability to really drill down on the biology of genetic diseases. but it really does take a partnership between patients, their families, doctors, and scientists.
Since Luke's diagnosis, they have found 10 others with this disorder around the world. And they are now working on a therapy which gives patients like Luke a new lease on life.
What are your hopes for Luke for the future?
Just to be able to lead a full normal life like any other kid. And I think that he's, even though this isn't completely solved, he's most of the way there.
I want Luke to live cautiously in the ways he needs to, but not in fear. I want him to be adventurous and daring and bold and not afraid of things. So we're really excited to let him experience life more.
The family says that almost all of Luke's treatments were covered by their insurance. The work at the hospital was funded by the Jeffrey Modell Foundation, named after Jeffrey Modell, a young boy who was born with and died from a mysterious immune deficiency. His parents established the nonprofit hoping his legacy will help other children through early diagnosis, treatments, and cures through medical research.
It's so hard to see that little body with all the wires coming out of it, and then to know the parents went to the doctor and there's no diagnosis. So you turn to your doctor and you say, okay, how do we fix it? And they say, we're not sure.
You know, my 5-year-old daughter saw this story last night. I showed it to her, and she said, Mommy, why would God give a little boy a disorder like this? And, you know, we have no answers, obviously, but Jeffrey Modell's family, they have a website where they talk about his story, and they say that Jeffrey taught them so much. They taught them that to succeed in life, you need a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. And I love that, you know, and these children, the legacy that they leave, and that is really what they teach us through dealing with these types of disorders and their families, too.
I think it's interesting the doctor says it has to be a partnership. It's not just a partnership. These parents took a big risk.
They did, absolutely. There was no playbook. That's what Dr.
What I find remarkable, Tara, is that they hadn't recognized it in humans before this, and now they've found 10 other people that have similar conditions.
That's right.
The science is remarkable.
It's amazing. And how many more others, right? I mean, it's such a huge step.
Yeah, I was going to say that the community of rare disease havers is actually quite large in this country, and they're all so isolated. The only thing they have in common is no one knows what they have.
That's right. And that's so hard in medicine when you don't have a diagnosis. That's such a difficult thing to tell a patient. So, you know, beautiful story, beautiful family.
Things are moving in the right direction. That's good news. Thank you, Tara.